What would you do if the person you trusted most handed you a stack of legal documents and quietly walked out of your life after discovering you weren't where you claimed to be that night? Can a single reckless choice in the dark undo years of marriage in the light? This is how I lost everything, and still believed I deserved more. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The mirror in our bedroom reflected a woman I barely recognized anymore. At 32, I still had it. The curves that turned heads, the smile that could disarm any argument. But when was the last time Caleb had really looked at me? Really seen me? "You're going out again?" Caleb's voice drifted from the doorway, tinged with that familiar disappointment I'd grown to resent. He stood there in his worn jeans and faded t-shirt, looking every bit the boring software engineer he'd become. "It's just girls' night, Caleb. God, you act like I'm committing a crime." I smoothed down my black dress, the one that hugged my body in all the right places, the one I'd bought specifically for nights like this. "Phaedra, we talked about having family time tonight. Ava's been asking—" "Ava will be fine. She has you." I turned to face him, crossing my arms. "Look, I work 40 hours a week. I come home to cook and clean, and I can't even have one night to myself without you making me feel guilty about it." Caleb's jaw tightened. At 35, he was still handsome in that quiet, dependable way that had once attracted me, but dependable had become predictable. Predictable had become suffocating. "I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I just think—" "You think too much, Caleb. That's your problem. You analyze everything to death instead of just living." I grabbed my purse and checked my phone. 3 texts from Julia, my sister, and 2 from Stacy. They were already at Club Pulse, already having the kind of fun I desperately needed. "When will you be home?" "I don't know. Late. Don't wait up." I kissed his cheek perfunctorily, tasting the bitterness of my own resentment. "Maybe you should call your mother. I'm sure she has some opinions about what a terrible wife I am." "Phaedra!" But I was already walking away, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor. From the living room, I could hear Ava playing with her dolls, creating elaborate stories in that innocent 6-year-old voice that sometimes made my chest tight with guilt. Sometimes. Not tonight. The drive to Club Pulse took 20 minutes through downtown traffic. 20 minutes of freedom, of possibility, of remembering who I used to be before marriage, and motherhood had boxed me into this suffocating suburban life. Julia was waiting by the bar when I arrived, her blonde hair catching the neon lights. At 30, she still lived the life I envied, single, successful in her marketing career, answerable to no one. "There she is." Julia pulled me into a hug that smelled of expensive perfume and possibility. "I was starting to think Caleb had you chained to the kitchen sink." "Don't even start," I laughed, but there was an edge to it. "Where's Stacy?" "Dance floor, already 3 drinks in and flirting with some guy in a suit." Julia handed me a Cosmopolitan, my favorite. "So, how's married life treating you this week?" "Same as always. Caleb thinks I should be grateful for his steady paycheck and predictable personality. Meanwhile, I'm dying of boredom." "You're 32, not 92. You deserve to have some fun." The music pulsed through my body, awakening something that had been dormant for too long. This was what I needed: the energy, the attention, the reminder that I was still desirable. My phone buzzed. "Caleb." "Let me know when you're heading home." I turned the phone face down on the bar. "He's already checking up on me." "Ignore him. Tonight is about you." Julia raised her glass. "To living a little." We drank, and I felt the alcohol warm my blood, loosening the tight knots of resentment I carried. The club was packed with people my age, professionals unwinding after a long week, couples dancing close, single people hunting for connection. That's when I saw him. He was standing near the far end of the bar, tall and lean with dark hair, and the kind of easy confidence that drew attention without trying. When our eyes met across the crowded room, he smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made my stomach flip. "Who's that?" Julia followed my gaze. "I have no idea." "Well, he's definitely checking you out. And, honey, he is gorgeous." I knew I should look away. I knew I should finish my drink, dance with my friends, and go home to my husband and daughter. But when he started walking toward us, I felt more alive than I had in months. "Can I buy you a drink?" His voice was smooth with just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. "I already have one." I held up my Cosmopolitan, surprised by my own boldness. "Then can I buy you the next one?" Julia nudged me with her elbow. "I'm going to find Stacy," she said, disappearing into the crowd with a knowing smile. "I'm Eli." He extended his hand. "Phaedra." His hand was warm, his grip confident. "That's a beautiful name. Greek?" My mother was into mythology. I found myself leaning closer to hear him over the music. He smelled like expensive cologne and possibilities. "Are you here alone?" "With friends, girls' night." I didn't mention the husband waiting at home. I didn't mention the daughter who would ask where Mommy went. Tonight I was just Phaedra, not Mrs. Linton, not Ava's mother, not the woman slowly suffocating in suburban respectability. Lucky friends. His eyes traveled over my face, lingering on my lips. "You have the most incredible eyes." When was the last time Caleb had complimented my eyes? When was the last time he'd looked at me with anything approaching desire? "Thank you." I felt myself blushing like a teenager. "Would you like to dance?" I should have said no. I should have made an excuse, found Julia and Stacy, and gone home. Instead, I nodded. The dance floor was crowded, bodies moving to the pulsing beat. Eli's hands found my waist, pulling me closer as we moved together. His body was firm against mine, his breath warm against my ear when he leaned down to speak. "You're married." It wasn't a question. He'd noticed my ring. "Yes." I didn't pull away. "Happily?" I looked up at him, this stranger who was asking questions my own husband had stopped asking years ago. "Does it matter?" Not to me. My phone buzzed again. Through the crowd, I could see Julia watching us with concern. But Eli's hands were on my hips, and for the first time in years, I felt wanted, desired, alive. "I have a room at the Hotel Astra," he said quietly. "Just to talk, no pressure." I knew what he was really asking. I knew what I should say. But the alcohol and the music and the attention had awakened something in me that I'd thought was dead. I should find my friends. Of course, but he didn't step away. "I'll be at the bar if you change your mind." I found Julia and Stacy near the restrooms. Stacy was drunk and giggling, but Julia's expression was serious. "Phaedra, what are you doing?" "Having fun." "Remember fun?" "You're married. You have a daughter." "I'm not dead, Julia. I'm just talking to someone who actually finds me interesting." This is dangerous territory. Everything's dangerous territory according to everyone else. God forbid I have a conversation with someone who doesn't want to discuss mortgage payments and Ava's school schedule. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Caleb. I didn't read it. "I'm going to talk to him. Just talk." "Phaedra." But I was already walking back toward the bar, toward Eli, toward a choice that would change everything. Eli was waiting exactly where he said he'd be, nursing a whiskey and watching the crowd. When he saw me approaching, his face lit up with a smile that made my knees weak. "I wasn't sure you'd come back." I almost didn't. I slid onto the bar stool beside him, hyper-aware of how close we were sitting. "Tell me about yourself, Eli." "What would you like to know?" "Everything. I want to know what it's like to be someone who doesn't have every minute of their life planned out." He laughed, a rich sound that made me want to lean closer. "I'm in town for business. I work in acquisitions, buying companies, restructuring them. It's not as exciting as it sounds. More exciting than being married to a software engineer who thinks a wild Friday night is ordering pizza instead of cooking." "Rough marriage?" I took a long sip of my drink, feeling the alcohol blur the edges of my guilt. We got married young, had Ava right away. Sometimes I feel like I skipped my 20s entirely. How old is your daughter? 6. She's beautiful and sweet, and deserves better than parents who can barely stand to be in the same room together. That's honest. Maybe too honest. I don't usually talk about this stuff with strangers. I'm a good listener. His hand brushed mine on the bar, sending electricity up my arm. And sometimes strangers are easier to talk to than the people who think they know us. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Another message from Caleb. Without thinking, I turned it face down. He's checking up on you. He always does. Can't stand the thought that I might actually enjoy myself without him. What would happen if you didn't go home tonight? The question hung in the air between us, loaded with possibility and danger. I knew what he was asking. I knew what I should say. I always go home. But what if you didn't? Just once? I looked around the club, at the people dancing, laughing, living their lives without constantly worrying about someone else's feelings. When had I stopped being one of those people? I should find my friends. Should, he smiled. You use that word a lot. It's been drilled into me. I should be a good wife. I should be a good mother. I should be grateful for what I have. What do you want to be? The question hit me like a physical blow. When was the last time anyone had asked me what I wanted? When was the last time I'd even asked myself? I want to be someone who matters, someone worth paying attention to. You are. His voice was soft, sincere. You're beautiful and intelligent, and you deserve to be appreciated. Tears stung my eyes. My husband hasn't told me I'm beautiful in over a year. Then he's an idiot. I laughed despite myself. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're unhappy. I know you're here with me instead of home with him. I know you're thinking about doing something you've never done before. He was right. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about walking out of this club with him, about forgetting my responsibilities for one night, about remembering what it felt like to be wanted. I can't. You can. The question is whether you will. My phone buzzed again. This time I picked it up. 3 missed calls from Caleb. A text from Julia. Where are you? Stacy's wasted and ready to leave. I have to go. No, you don't. Eli's hand covered mine. You have choices, Phaedra. You always have choices. I stared at him, this stranger who was offering me everything I thought I wanted. Freedom, excitement, the chance to be someone other than the woman slowly dying in suburban mediocrity. 1 drink, at the hotel bar, just to talk. Just to talk, he agreed, but we both knew it was a lie. I texted Julia. Heading home, tell Stacy I'll call her tomorrow. It was easier than I thought it would be, lying to my sister. The words flowed naturally, like I'd been practicing for this moment my entire marriage. The Hotel Astra was only a few blocks away, but the walk felt like crossing into another world. Eli's hand was warm on my back as he guided me through the revolving doors into the elegant lobby. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light over marble floors and expensive furniture. This was the kind of place Caleb would never think to bring me. Too expensive, too indulgent, too much. The bar's this way, Eli said, but we both knew we weren't going to the bar. The elevator ride to the 15th floor was silent except for the soft jazz playing overhead. I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls, flushed cheeks, bright eyes, looking more alive than I had in years. This was what I'd been missing, this feeling of anticipation, of possibility, of being desired. Room 1547, Eli said, sliding the key card into the lock. I hesitated. Once I walked through that door, there would be no going back. No pretending this was innocent. No more lies I could tell myself about just talking. Phaedra? Eli's voice was gentle. We don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But that was the problem. I did want to. I wanted to forget about Caleb and his disappointed sighs. I wanted to forget about the mortgage and the grocery lists and the endless, suffocating routine of my life. I wanted to be the woman I used to be, the woman who took risks and lived for the moment. I walked through the door. The room was beautiful, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a king-size bed with crisp white linens, a sitting area with plush chairs, and a view that took my breath away. Wow. Not bad for a business trip. Eli closed the door behind us, and I heard the soft click of the lock engaging. Can I get you something to drink? There's a minibar. I should probably stop drinking. Probably. He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne again. But you're not going to. He was right. I wasn't going to stop drinking, and I wasn't going to leave, and I wasn't going to do any of the things I should do. For once in my life, I was going to do exactly what I wanted. Champagne, I said. If we're going to do this, we might as well do it right. Do what? His smile was teasing. You know what? He opened the champagne with practiced ease, the cork popping softly. The bubbles tickled my nose as I took a sip, the expensive taste making me feel sophisticated and reckless. To new experiences, Eli raised his glass. To forgetting who I'm supposed to be. We drank, and then he was kissing me, and I was kissing him back with a desperation that surprised us both. His hands tangled in my hair, and I pressed against him, feeling desired for the first time in years. My phone buzzed on the nightstand where I'd carelessly tossed it. Caleb's name flashed on the screen. Another call I wouldn't answer, another lie I'd have to tell, but that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I was just a woman in a hotel room with a man who wanted her. Tonight, I was alive. I woke up in sheets that smelled like expensive hotels and mistakes. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then it all came flooding back. The club, Eli, the choice that had seemed so right in the darkness and now felt like a weight crushing my chest. The bed beside me was empty. Eli was gone, along with any trace that he'd ever been there, except for the faint scent of his cologne on the pillows. I found a note on the nightstand. You're beautiful. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. E. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Caleb, 12 text messages, and 3 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to. The time read 7:23 a.m. Caleb would be making breakfast for Ava, probably telling her that Mommy had stayed at Aunt Julia's house because she'd had too much wine. I called Julia. Jesus, Phaedra, where have you been? Caleb's been calling me all night. I need you to cover for me. Cover for you how? Tell him I slept at your place. Tell him I was too drunk to drive. Silence on the other end. Then, Phaedra, what did you do? Just tell him, okay? I'll explain later. This is a bad idea. It's already done, Julia. I just need you to help me. Another pause. Fine. But you owe me an explanation. I hung up and called an Uber, then spent 20 minutes in the hotel bathroom trying to make myself look like someone who'd spent the night on her sister's couch instead of in a stranger's bed. My dress was wrinkled, my makeup smeared, my hair a mess, but it could pass for a hangover look. It had to. The ride to Julia's apartment took 15 minutes through Saturday morning traffic. I had her buzz me up, then immediately back down, establishing the story that I was just leaving her place. You look terrible, Julia said when I walked into her kitchen. I feel worse. What happened? I told her everything. The club, Eli, the hotel room, the choice that had seemed so liberating 12 hours ago and now felt like a noose around my neck. Oh, Phaedra. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you're disappointed in me. I get enough of that at home. Julia poured coffee into a mug and handed it to me. I'm not disappointed. I'm worried. Caleb's not stupid. Caleb sees what he wants to see. He wants to believe I'm the perfect suburban wife, so that's what he'll see. And if he doesn't? I didn't have an answer for that. The drive home felt like a death march. Our house looked exactly the same, Same blue shutters, same perfectly manicured lawn, same minivan in the driveway that screamed, "Responsible mother." But everything felt different. I felt different. Caleb was in the kitchen when I walked in, still in his pajamas, drinking coffee and reading something on his laptop. He looked up when he heard my footsteps, and for a moment I thought I saw something in his eyes. Suspicion, hurt, knowledge, but then it was gone. "How was girls' night?" "Good. Too much wine." I kissed his cheek, the same perfunctory kiss I'd given him before leaving. Did he smell Eli's cologne on my skin? Could he sense the lie radiating from my pores? "Julia said you crashed at her place." "Yeah, I was too drunk to drive. Didn't want to wake you up calling for a ride." "I would have come to get you." "I know, but Julia's couch was closer." Ava ran into the kitchen in her pajamas, her dark hair messy from sleep. "Mommy, you're home." I hugged her, breathing in her little girl scent of strawberry shampoo and innocence. The guilt hit me like a physical blow. This was what I'd risked, this sweet, trusting child who thought her mother was a good person. "Did you have fun with Daddy?" "We watched movies and ate popcorn for dinner." Ava's eyes were bright with excitement. "Daddy said you needed a night with your friends because grown-ups need breaks sometimes." "That's right, baby." I met Caleb's eyes over Ava's head. He was watching me carefully, searching for something. Mommy needed a break. "Are you going to make pancakes?" "Sure, sweetheart. Go get dressed and I'll start breakfast." Ava skipped out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with Caleb. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken questions. "You look tired," he said finally. "Julia's couch isn't very comfortable." "You could have called." "You were asleep. I didn't want to wake the whole house." He nodded, but something in his expression made my stomach clench. "I tried calling you around midnight. It went straight to voicemail." "My phone died." The lie came so easily it scared me. "You know how bad the battery is on that thing?" "Right." He closed his laptop. "I'm going to shower. Thanks for making breakfast." I watched him walk away, noting the set of his shoulders, the way he didn't quite meet my eyes. Did he know? Or was I just paranoid, seeing suspicion where there was only hurt feelings about being ignored? I made pancakes mechanically, going through the motions of normal Saturday morning routine while my mind raced. This was my life. Pancakes and coffee and domestic routine. This was what I'd risked for one night of feeling alive. But even as guilt gnawed at my insides, I couldn't shake the memory of Eli's hands on my skin, the way he'd looked at me like I was the most beautiful woman in the world. When was the last time Caleb had looked at me like that? My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for an amazing night. I hope you got home safely." I deleted it immediately, my heart pounding. Then I turned off my phone and focused on flipping pancakes, on being the mother and wife I was supposed to be. But the damage was already done. The perfect lie I'd constructed was already starting to crack, and I was too intoxicated by the memory of feeling desired to notice the foundation of my life beginning to crumble beneath my feet. When Caleb came back downstairs, freshly showered and dressed, he kissed my cheek the same way he always did. But something had changed. Maybe it was me, or maybe it was him, but the easy intimacy we'd once shared felt forced now, artificial. "Good pancakes," he said. "Thanks. What are your plans for today?" "I thought we could take Ava to the park, spend some family time together." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That sounds perfect." But nothing felt perfect anymore. As I watched my daughter eat pancakes and chatter about her plans for the day, I realized that my one night of freedom had cost me something I couldn't name yet. The easy comfort of my old life was gone, replaced by a constant awareness that I was living a lie. And the worst part, I wasn't sure I regretted it. Monday morning at work felt like walking into a minefield. I'd barely settled at my desk in the HR department when my colleague Sarah knocked on my doorframe. "Fun weekend?" She had that look, The one women get when they know something you don't want them to know. Just the usual. Family time. Sarah stepped into my office and closed the door. Funny thing, my cousin works at Hotel Astra. Says she saw someone who looked just like you in the lobby Friday night, with a very handsome man who definitely wasn't Caleb. My blood turned to ice. Your cousin must be mistaken. Must be. But Sarah's smile was sharp, though she was pretty sure. Said you were wearing that black dress you wore to the Christmas party. I was at Julia's Friday night. Girls' night got a little too wild. Of course. Sarah opened the door to leave, then turned back. Just thought you should know. People talk. The rest of the morning crawled by. Every conversation felt loaded, every glance suspicious. By lunch, I was a nervous wreck. I called Stacy. Meet me for lunch. I need to talk to someone. Can't. I'm swamped. Stacy, please. It's important. A pause. Is this about Friday night? Because I really don't want to get involved in whatever's going on with you and Caleb. What do you mean? I mean you disappeared with some random guy and now everyone's talking about it. Julia's worried sick, and honestly, so am I. I thought you were my friend. I am your friend. That's why I'm telling you to get your act together before you destroy your marriage. She hung up, leaving me staring at my phone in disbelief. Stacy, who'd been encouraging me to live a little just days ago, was now acting like I'd committed murder. I spent the afternoon fielding whispers and sideways glances from co-workers. By the time I got home, I was exhausted and paranoid. Caleb was in his study with the door closed, unusual for him. He always kept it open when he was working. Daddy's been in there all day, Ava informed me when I found her coloring in the living room. He said not to bother him. What's he working on? I don't know, he looked sad. Sad. Not angry, not suspicious. Sad. Somehow that was worse. I knocked on the study door. Caleb, dinner's ready. I'll be out in a minute. But he wasn't. Dinner came and went with just Ava and me at the table. She chatted about school while I picked at my food, listening for sounds from the study. When I finally heard the door open, it was after 8 o'clock. Sorry. Work stuff. Caleb looked tired. Older somehow. I'll heat up a plate. I can do it. I've got it. We moved around each other in the kitchen like polite strangers. When had we stopped touching casually? When had simple conversations become so careful and formal? How was your day? I asked. Fine. Yours? Good. Busy. That's good. The conversation died there. Caleb ate his reheated dinner while I cleaned up, both of us avoiding the elephant in the room. But what was the elephant? My guilt, his suspicion, or just the slow death of a marriage that had been dying long before Friday night? Later, after Ava was in bed, I found Caleb back in his study. This time the door was locked. Caleb, I knocked softly. Can we talk? I'm working. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday. What work is so important it can't wait? Silence. Then the sound of his chair rolling back, footsteps, the lock turning. He opened the door but didn't invite me in. What did you want to talk about? Us. We barely spoke at dinner. You've been locked in here all evening. Something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Don't lie to me, Caleb. I can tell when something's bothering you. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes that made my stomach clench. Knowledge. Pain. The look of a man who'd discovered something he wished he hadn't. Are you happy, Phaedra? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, are you happy? With our life? With our marriage? With me? Of course I'm happy. Are you? Why would you ask me that? Because you seem different lately. Distant. Like you're somewhere else even when you're here. I'm just tired. Work's been stressful. Is that all it is? I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to confess about Eli, about the hotel room, about the way I'd felt more alive in one night than I had in years of marriage. But looking at his tired face, Seeing the hurt he was trying so hard to hide, I couldn't do it. That's all it is. He nodded slowly. Okay, I love you, Phaedra. You know that, right? I know. And if something was wrong, you'd tell me. If you were unhappy, or if there was someone else, you'd tell me. My heart stopped. Someone else? Why would you think there was someone else? I don't, I want you to know that you can talk to me. About anything. There's nothing to talk about. Okay. But he didn't look convinced. I'm going to work for another hour or so. Don't wait up. He closed the door, and I heard the lock turn again. I stood there for a moment, my hand on the doorknob, wanting to knock again, to demand he let me in, to find out what he knew or suspected. Instead, I went to bed alone, staring at the ceiling and replaying every conversation, every look, every moment since Friday night. Was I being paranoid? Or was Caleb slowly, methodically, figuring out the truth? My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Can't stop thinking about you. I deleted it immediately, but not before noticing that Caleb's side of the bed was still empty. He was still in his study, still working on whatever was keeping him up so late. For the first time since Friday night, I wondered if the price of feeling alive was going to be higher than I'd bargained for. The next few weeks passed in a blur of mounting tension. Caleb grew quieter, more distant, spending long hours in his locked study. I told myself he was just busy with work, but deep down I knew better. He was pulling away from me, and I was letting him too, caught up in my own guilt and confusion, to fight for our marriage. The texts from Eli continued sporadically. I deleted them all, but not before reading them, not before feeling that flutter of excitement that reminded me I was still desirable. It was dangerous and stupid, but I couldn't help myself. Then came the family dinner that changed everything. Caleb's mother, Miriam, had invited us over for Sunday dinner, a monthly tradition I'd grown to dread. Miriam had never liked me, though she was too polite to say so directly. She thought I wasn't good enough for her precious son, that I was too high maintenance, too selfish. Maybe she was right. Phaedra looks tired, Miriam commented as we sat down to eat. Are you feeling all right, dear? I'm fine, just busy with work. Of course, such an important job. Her tone suggested otherwise. Caleb, you look thin. Is Phaedra feeding you properly? Mom, Caleb's voice held a warning. I'm just concerned. You both seem strained lately. Mark, Caleb's older brother, tried to change the subject. How's Ava doing in school? Great, I said. She loves her teacher. That's wonderful. Kids need stability, don't they? Routine, parents they can count on. Was that a dig? With Miriam, it was hard to tell. Everything she said seemed to carry a double meaning. Ava has plenty of stability, I said, perhaps too defensively. Of course she does. Miriam's smile was sharp. Though I do worry about children when their parents are going through difficulties. We're not going through difficulties, I said. Aren't you? Miriam looked directly at me. Because Caleb seems quite unhappy lately. Distracted, like something's weighing on his mind. I looked at Caleb, but he was focused on his plate, jaw tight. Maybe you should ask him instead of speculating about our marriage. Phaedra. Caleb's voice was quiet but firm. No, it's fine, Miriam said. I understand defensive behavior. People lash out when they're feeling guilty about something. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm simply observing that my son is unhappy, and as his mother, that concerns me. Mom, please. Mark tried to intervene. Let's just enjoy dinner. But the damage was done. The rest of the meal passed in tense silence, broken only by Ava's innocent chatter about school and friends. I could feel Miriam's eyes on me, watching, judging, seeing things I didn't want her to see. After dinner, while I was helping clear the table, Miriam cornered me in the kitchen. I don't know what you've done, she said quietly, but I know you've done something. I can see it in your face, in the way you can't quite meet Caleb's eyes anymore. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I've been married for 35 years, Phaedra. I know what guilt looks like. I haven't done anything wrong. Haven't you? She moved closer, lowering her voice. Because if you've hurt my son, if you've betrayed him in some way, I will make sure he finds out. And I will make sure he protects himself and Ava from whatever poison you've brought into this family. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you, Caleb deserves better than a wife who lies to him, and Ava deserves a mother she can be proud of. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but the words stuck in my throat. Because she was right, wasn't she? I had lied, I had betrayed him, and I was still lying, still covering up, still pretending to be someone I wasn't. The drive home was silent except for Ava singing in the back seat. Caleb stared straight ahead, his hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. Your mother was out of line, I said finally. Was she? You're going to take her side? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just wondering if maybe she sees something I've been trying not to see. Like what? Like the fact that my wife has been lying to me. My heart stopped. Caleb, not now, not in front of Ava. But when we got home, after Ava was in bed, Caleb disappeared into his study again. I waited an hour, then knocked. We need to talk. Do we? Yes, about what your mother said, about what you think I've done. The door opened. Caleb stood there looking older than his 35 years, tired and hurt, and something else, something that looked like resignation. I know, Phaedra. 3 words that shattered my world. Know what? I know about the hotel. I know about Friday night. I know you weren't at Julia's. I opened my mouth to deny it, but he held up his hand. Don't. Please don't lie to me anymore. I can't take any more lies. How? Does it matter? The question is what we do now. I stared at him, this man I'd married 8 years ago, this good, decent man I'd betrayed for one night of feeling desired. Caleb, I need some time to think, to figure out what this means for us, for Ava. It doesn't mean anything. It was a mistake, a stupid... It means everything. His voice was quiet, devastated. It means my wife would rather spend the night with a stranger than come home to her family. It means 8 years of marriage meant so little to you that you threw it away for what? Excitement? Attention? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me, because I've been trying to understand for weeks, and I can't. I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell him about feeling invisible, about dying slowly in suburban routine, about needing to feel alive again. But looking at his broken face, I realized how selfish it all sounded. I don't know, I whispered. You don't know. He nodded slowly. Well, I know. I know that I can't trust you anymore. I know that every time you leave the house, I'll wonder where you're really going. I know that when I look at you, all I see is that hotel room and some stranger's hands on my wife. Caleb, please. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps. Next steps. Lawyer. Custody arrangements. How to tell Ava that Mommy and Daddy won't be living together anymore. The words hit me like physical blows. You're leaving me. You left me first, Phaedra, in that hotel room. You just didn't have the courage to make it official. He closed the door, leaving me standing in the hallway of the house that suddenly felt like a mausoleum of my former life. Everything I'd taken for granted, my marriage, my family, my future, was crumbling around me. And the worst part, I still couldn't bring myself to regret that night with Eli. Even facing the destruction of my life, part of me still treasured the memory of feeling wanted, desired, alive. Maybe that made me a monster. Maybe Miriam was right. Maybe Caleb and Ava deserved better than a wife and mother who could throw away everything for one night of selfish pleasure. But it was too late for maybe. The damage was done, and tomorrow I would have to face the consequences of choosing desire over duty, excitement over stability, myself over my family. The envelope was waiting for me on the kitchen counter when I came down for breakfast. Thick, cream-colored paper with my name written in Caleb's careful handwriting. Ava was already at school, Caleb already gone to work. The house felt like a tomb. Inside the envelope were legal documents, separation papers, custody arrangements, a detailed timeline of my lies and deceptions that made my stomach turn. But it was the cover letter that broke me. Phaedra, I've spent 3 weeks trying to find a way to forgive you, to move past this and rebuild our marriage. But every time I close my eyes, I see you walking into that hotel with another man while I was home putting our daughter to bed. I hired a private investigator. I know about the texts you've been exchanging with him since that night. I know you've been planning to see him again. I know this wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a choice you've been making over and over for weeks. I can't live with someone I don't trust. More importantly, I won't expose Ava to the toxicity this marriage has become. She deserves stability, honesty, parents who respect each other and themselves. The custody arrangement is fair. Joint custody, with primary residence with me during the school year. You can have her summers and alternating holidays. The house will need to be sold, assets divided as outlined in the documents. I've already spoken to a lawyer. This isn't a negotiation, it's a notification. I loved you, Phaedra. I thought you loved me too. I was wrong about a lot of things, but I won't be wrong about protecting our daughter from the chaos you've brought into our lives. Caleb. My hands were shaking as I read it twice, then a third time. The clinical language of legal dissolution, the cold recitation of facts and arrangements, the complete absence of the warm, gentle man I'd married. I called him immediately. Caleb, please, we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. It was one night, one stupid mistake. It was 3 weeks of lies. It was deleting texts and sneaking around and looking me in the eye while you planned your next betrayal. I wasn't planning anything. The texts say otherwise. I closed my eyes, remembering the messages from Eli I'd been too weak to ignore completely. The ones where I'd responded with vague promises to see him soon. The ones that proved Caleb was right. This hadn't been a one-time mistake. I never actually met him again. Because I found out, not because you chose not to. He was right, and we both knew it. If Caleb hadn't discovered the truth, would I have met Eli again? Would I have continued down this path until there was nothing left of my marriage to salvage? What about counseling? What about trying to work through this? You should have thought about that before you chose a stranger over your family. Caleb, please. Think about Ava. Think about what this will do to her. I am thinking about Ava. I'm thinking about raising her to believe she deserves better than a partner who betrays her trust. I'm thinking about showing her what self-respect looks like. The line went dead. I tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. I called Julia. He's divorcing me. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. You have to help me. Talk to him. Tell him I made a mistake. Tell him. Phaedra, stop. What? Just stop. This isn't my fault, and it's not my responsibility to fix it. I thought you were on my side. I was, I am, but that doesn't mean I think Caleb's wrong. You think I deserve this? I think you made choices that led to consequences, and now you have to live with those consequences. So you're abandoning me too? I'm not abandoning you. I'm refusing to enable you. There's a difference. Everyone was abandoning me. Stacy wouldn't return my calls. Co-workers whispered when I walked by. Even my own sister was choosing Caleb's side over mine. I spent the day calling lawyers, trying to find someone who would tell me I had options, that I could fight this. But the evidence was overwhelming. The hotel records, the text messages, the lies I'd told. No one wanted to touch a case where the client was so clearly in the wrong. By evening, I was desperate. I called the one person I thought might understand. Eli, it's Phaedra. Phaedra, I was hoping you'd call. When can I see you again? I can't. My husband found out. He's divorcing me. Silence. Then, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because this is your fault too. You pursued a married woman. You knew what you were doing. Hey, hold on. You're the one who came to my hotel room. You're the one who made the choice. I was vulnerable. I was unhappy. You took advantage of that. I didn't take advantage of anything. You're a grown woman who made a decision. Don't try to blame me for the consequences. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? What did you expect? We had one night together. It was great, but it was never going to be more than that. I'm losing everything because of you. You're losing everything because you chose to cheat on your husband. That's on you, not me. He hung up. Just like that, the man who'd made me feel so alive, so desired, so special, dismissed me like I meant nothing. Because to him, I was nothing. I was just another married woman looking for excitement, another conquest he could forget as soon as he left town. That night, I sat in my empty house. Caleb had taken Ava to his mother's, and faced the reality of what I'd done. I'd traded 8 years of marriage, my daughter's stability, my home, my future, for one night with a man who didn't even care enough to pretend he was sorry for his role in destroying my life. The worst part? Even now, even facing complete devastation, I couldn't bring myself to regret feeling desired again. I couldn't regret the way Eli had looked at me, touched me, made me feel like a woman instead of just a wife and mother. Maybe that made me irredeemable. Maybe I really was the selfish, destructive person everyone now believed me to be. But I couldn't change who I was any more than I could change what I'd done. The papers were still on the kitchen counter, waiting for my signature. Caleb wasn't asking for my permission or my forgiveness. He was simply informing me that our marriage was over, that my choices had consequences, that actions had prices. I picked up the pen and signed my name, officially ending the life I'd taken for granted, and stepping into an uncertain future where I would be known as the woman who threw away everything for nothing. But as I set the pen down, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, gorgeous, remember me from the club last weekend?" For just a moment, I felt that familiar flutter of excitement, that intoxicating rush of being wanted. Then I deleted the message and turned off my phone. Some lessons, apparently, were harder to learn than others.